if we knew that the skills, habits, and mindset we cultivate to handle various situations in our life is a form of storytelling. We all have compelling narratives, life-changing insights, beautifully inspired stories, all nestled in the hearts of who we are and who we can become as individuals. If you love listening and communicating to people, others about your goals, your dreams, and aspirations, what I have to share with you today might be meaningful to you. Today, I will refresh your mind about the importance of personal storytelling. And I am passionate about this subject because it has empowered me, it has built individual growth and resilience in me. First, we all love to tell and listen to stories. It's an effective way of communicating with others, relating, understanding them, and ourselves. Why do I feel a strong desire to awaken the importance of personal storytelling in our lives? One, storytelling involves everyone, whether infant or older. Storytelling helps us find our voice, and storytelling helps us understand who we are and others. Let's talk about what a personal story is. It begins with us. It begins with a sense of ourselves and our narratives, focusing on change. The experiences that happen to us and the lessons we learn teach us to reach people, share and connect with them and ourselves. First, we all love to listen to stories. It's an effective way of communicating with others and relating and understanding ourselves and them. We talk about life experiences and what we might do differently next time. We complain about the weather. When babies express pleasure or distress through babbling, we speak to them and we try to figure what they're trying to tell us. We may not think all these are examples of compelling personal stories, but they are. They all tell of a time and they describe an action or an event. So storytelling involves everyone, whether infant or older. As an early education teacher, I have witnessed storytelling in children born with no narratives or listening skills. When I received 36-month-old Mia to school, I noticed she had a tear-stained face, and when I asked what happened to her eyes, she said, and I quote, "My mommy was brushing my hair and I was crying." Little Mia was able to organize her story in a sequence that I was able to understand. Whether a medical professional, parent, or student, or child, storytelling involves everyone. In a recent health news article from NPR by Helen Rankin, she said, "Inspiring stories of people recovering from illnesses help patients with health challenges cope on their journey." Parents or students sharing their stories in a testimony meeting on how the power of prayer help and cope with the challenge can help us gain new insights for ourselves. Stories help us remember and imagine. Everyone thrives on remembering the past, imagining the future, and embracing it. We cannot preserve our families, cultures, and traditions without it. Understanding the problem of personal stories helps us tap into available resources to determine our desired outcome. Stories help us solve problems and try on new solutions. Listening and engaging to our loved ones through storytelling can motivate and inspire us, elevating us to overcome our own challenges. Second, storytelling helps us find our voice. In personal storytelling, listening to our audience before we speak is a skill that will help us find new stories to tell or incorporate into our experiences. Today, I will share meaningful and mindful considerations that you can adopt when sharing a compelling story with an audience. Our passionate voices must be relatable to our audience, making it essential to learn from each other. When we share a story, we share a part of our life. Our stories must connect with the topic and the objectives we desire to share. We must devote time, effort, and practice into delivering a compelling story. The story needs to have a mood and flow that communicates to the audience. The delivery must be fresh and spontaneous, which is how we find a voice. A voice of love, a voice of compassion, a voice of faith, a voice of empathy. On June 20th, 2018, a community leader invited me to address a group of young girls on how to avoid negative peer pressure. Knowing what I know now, I would have delivered my speech differently. Since our voice represents stories we share in hopes of connecting with others, it must be clear and not confuse our listeners. It should relate to the topic and not stray from the main point. A minute into my speech, I veered off the main topic and shared an experience that did not relate to the subject. It felt awkward, the room felt silent, and my allotted time seemed longer than I imagined. I voluntarily sat down, promising myself never to give a speech again. My parents were not legally married when I came along. When I was 2 years old, my maternal grandmother ordered my father to pick me up from her house and raise me instead. As a result, I never saw my mother again until 40 decades later. I felt abandoned and rejected by the woman who gave me life. After connecting with my mother and knowing her personal story, I understood the dire circumstances that determined our separation. There is a personal story abiding deep within the well of our heart. Sometimes we may not have to wait for a big platform to share our stories. We can stand up and raise our voices wherever we are, in our families, in our communities, in our schools, and even our nation. Do our stories define us? Our individual stories stem from life events that occurred to us. They can uplift and inspire others. Understanding ourselves begins with us. Understanding others through storytelling has value beyond what separates us. It builds empathy, it creates compassion and trust. Personal storytelling creates a lasting emotional connection to understanding others. Today we have talked about personal storytelling and how it involves all of us. I stand before you today and assure you that every one of us can develop our storytelling in a hopeful and inspiring way. Sharing personal stories remind us that we are not alone. Let's make sense of the world by sharing our stories and empowering others with messages of hope, faith, love, and diligence to build our community. If your account is too personal, that's okay. Our growth and learning are different from each one. Listening to similar stories can give insights and build the connection of understanding. Personal storytelling begins with you. It begins with me. It begins with us. And only we can begin and end the chapter. Madeline L. Engel said, "Honor your own stories and tell them too. The tales may not seem very important, but they are what binds us and makes us who we are. You are powerful. Your story has a voice, and the world awaits when you are ready." Thank you.